This is water. Sometimes it's cold and refreshing. Sometimes it's hot and soothing. Sometimes it's wild and it kills.
August 19th, 1955. New England was crushed after two hurricanes hit within 5 days of each other. News of the floods spread as quickly as the water. The flooding struck without any warning, leaving thousands in danger and killing 87 in Connecticut alone. On November 3rd, 1955, the Connecticut Flood Recovery Committee reported that Connecticut was the hardest hit victim of the worst flood in the history of the eastern United States. That was no understatement. Once the rain cleared, it was time to evaluate the situation at hand. The flooding left over 80,000 people unemployed, and more than 1,000 families found themselves homeless. The damage was not just in the thousands, it had hit close to $500 million worth of destruction. Governor Abe Ribicoff toured the towns hit the heaviest, including Waterbury, Winsted, and Farmington.
It's been a great devastation to this beautiful state of ours, and there's been great loss. It is going to be a big, big job to clean it up and restore it to what it was before this tragedy hit us.
There were many photos taken of the flooding and the people involved. A children's book was even written to help tell the stories through a child's eyes. In it, the author Lois Lenski wrote a song to ward off the flood. But these pamphlets and books were not the only recordings of the flood. The Hartford Courant, the largest paper in the state, took on the role of telling the stories through articles and, more importantly, photographs. It is one thing to read about the damage, but to see it with your own eyes makes it real. From August 20th to September 20th, almost not a day went by where there was not a photo pertaining to the flood in the Hartford Courant. In August, there were 22 standalone photos. September held 33 photos, October had 17, November 15, and December had just 8 photos dealing with the flood. On August 20th, the day after the destruction, the Courant ran full-page spreads with only photos. It was their job to show central and eastern Connecticut what had happened to the valley. The photos in the first spread were of people and pets being rescued. It was hard to travel through the state and get photographs of the actual destruction. The streets were still covered with water, therefore many of the photos were taken close to Hartford. In the following days, the photos began to change. Businesses were interviewed, and the people behind the water were given a voice. Here, money is shown being dried out after it was found submerged in Waterbury. Damage was also documented in towns like Putnam. Staff photographer Bob Fix was able to go in a plane to retrieve this photo. Helicopters and planes helped not only to save victims, but to document the destruction. In particular, Sikorsky helicopters would take photographers up to tour the state. Many pamphlets and town books are filled with credits to Sikorsky. As August came to an end, families and businesses were still in dire straits. The Courant's photos showcased more damage, allowing for 3 days with full pages of flood photos. But the photos began to change even more. The people are becoming more important. On the 26th, a couple is wed despite the circumstances that surround them. And on the 28th, a man is doing his part by donating prizes that will be auctioned off. By the end of the month, we begin to see what the photos will ultimately turn into. Posed politicians and celebrities shaking hands and receiving checks. September's photos continue the pattern that was set in August. Instead of showing just the destruction, the Courant ties it into how thousands of people are jobless and the numbers are not changing. September is also a point in the photographs where a tiny light at the end of the tunnel becomes visible. People are coming out from all ends of the state to donate, donate, donate. It gives a sense that money is rolling in and there is hope for the victims after all. A month has passed and the colder months are settling in. The message is given from the Courant that people are trying to make a difference and give what they can. Once November rolls around, photos of the damage in Winsted begin to resurface. Winsted was wiped almost off the map, so it is only natural that the paper checked in with the city to see how they have rebuilt and what they are still facing. The end of November and December come, and the photos turn to the holidays and how people are being helped. It is a nice finish to the year to see these children, innocent victims, will still be having a holiday. The photos taken by the Hartford Courant were different than that of the pamphlets and town books. The Courant was able to showcase the stories of people around the state and the struggles they were facing. The paper was not just a way to demonstrate the structural damage. It was a way to voice the emotional damage that thousands in Connecticut were facing.